Triston Casas should win Rookie of the Year. The young stud continued to make his statement and argument for that position in the Red Sox weekend series win over the Kansas City Royals.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby Hurlbut, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast, here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox, Monday through Friday, straight to your favorite podcast feed. And while I'm bringing you new Red Sox content for free to your favorite podcast platform, you can also download the SiriusXM app to get the home broadcast of every Red Sox game straight to your phone. Just search Red Sox in the SiriusXM app and they will have you covered so you don't have to miss a single pitch of Red Sox baseball. Happy Monday. Happy long 3-day weekend. For whatever reason, last week felt like the longest week ever to me. So I am certainly very relieved to have had what turned out to be a very relaxing weekend. The Red Sox made it a little bit easier by winning their weekend series against the Kansas City Royals. I will be diving into all of that on today's episode, as well as a rookie who's certainly making his case for that Rookie of the Year campaign and going over the Red Sox roster expansion. So lots to talk about today, but the Red Sox had a good weekend series in Kansas City. Friday night was an absolute disaster. I would like to just pretend it really didn't happen. Absolute blowout. The Red Sox could not get anything going offensively, and the Royals offense just really jumped on it right away. James Paxton is unfortunately just appearing like he can't handle being a full-time starter anymore. It's just been a while since he's really been in a starting position for a full season. So I feel like this fatigue might be getting to him. He might be at the point now where he can't really handle taking on as many starts as he's been having to take on, because he's used to being injured and having time in between where he's kind of recovering and missing a good portion of the season. But he's pitched a lot this year. So from that standpoint, I just think there's a huge adjustment period going on with him. He only lasted 1.1 innings and gave up 6 earned runs on Friday night. So it was an absolute disaster. He's really declined pretty significantly here in the second half compared to how he was pitching in the first half of the season. So I think it's nothing more, nothing less than simply fatigue and just trying to get back into that swing of being a full-time starter for a full season, because that's just not something that he's been used to. So Friday night was just an absolute mess for the Red Sox. They went down early and just couldn't recover, and the Royals just kept bleeding and bleeding and continuing to bite. So such a rough game. And I was very much angry about it because it was after the Red Sox had finished a brutal series against the Astros in which they got swept at home, which was just so not ideal when they were trying to remain in a wild card race. But they lifted my spirits a little bit on Saturday. The Red Sox did come out with a win on that day. Tanner Houck pitched 5 innings, gave up 7 hits and 4 earned runs. He actually was pulled from the game with traffic on the bases. So, when it comes to Houck, he was looking pretty decent, in a lot of his starts, and he does have a longevity problem. He's always had it. He's always had an issue with struggling with other lineups when he's halfway or, about halfway through the game, which usually correlates to third time through the order. So Winkowski came in for him when the bases were loaded. Unfortunately, all of those runs scored. So they were all charged to Houck. Ultimately, he ended up giving up 4 runs because of that. And then Winkowski and Pivetta, for the most part, held down their own. Pivetta did give up a run, but the Red Sox won the game 9-5. Look, I like Houck. I've always been a fan of his stuff. I think he needs to really work on, though, not folding under the pressure when lineups are more familiar with him and the hitters have seen him a couple times already on that day. So he really needs to work on figuring out how to diversify his pitch selection a little bit more so that he can go deeper into games, because it's pretty clear that the Red Sox plan on keeping him as a starter long term. And that's fine. And if that's the case, then they just need to work with him on developing that, because it's going to be hard for him to be able to compete as a starter in this rotation and be able to find the success that he needs to find if he's only pitching 5 innings regularly in his starts. So that's something I'd still like to see him work on. But overall, I do think he has solid stuff. He just needs to know when to use what and figure out what works for him. So the Red Sox won the game 9-5. It was awesome. It was a very fun one to watch. Enmanuel Valdez had a big RBI in the game. I'm going to be touching on him a little bit later in the show. And then they get into Sunday, and Sunday's game was very good for the Red Sox in terms of the bats showing up again. They did win the game 7-3. However, Kenley Jansen in the 9th inning scared me a little bit. He came in to pitch in a non-save situation in the bottom of the 9th when the Red Sox were up 7-1. He gave up a couple runs in that inning, and he really just did not have his best stuff in that outing. He's been stressing me out a lot this season. He's blown a few saves. He's given up some runs. Ultimately ends up getting the job done, but it does scare me sometimes throwing him in non-save situations, because that's not really what he's used to. He's pitched 4 games total this season in non-save situations, and he's always able to get the job done in those games. And I get the Red Sox wanting to get him in there to get reps, but it's a hard sell for me to feel like it was the right move to bring him in the 9th inning when they did, because now he won't be available the next couple days. And what if he's needed on Monday or Tuesday in a close game? It would just be a real shame to me if the Red Sox can't use him because of that. And this upcoming series is against the Rays. The Red Sox really do, determine their own fate moving forward. They play the Rays for 3 games, and then they have a series against the Orioles, then the Yankees, and then the Blue Jays. So just a bunch of matchups against the division coming up. And the Rays are a tough team. I mean, they've been in that mix fighting with the Orioles for the division all season and have solidified themselves as a true playoff team. And you're going to want your closer to be available. So I don't know that I would have brought Jansen in when I did, especially because he did throw more pitches than I think Cora would have wanted him to or hoped for from him. So it's definitely a bit of a bummer that he likely won't be available for most of the Rays series. So I don't necessarily agree with that move. But on the other hand, it was good to have Brennan Bernardino back. He was activated from the COVID list. And he threw an inning on Sunday, just gave up 1 hit, no runs, and recorded a strikeout. He's been a solid piece out of the Red Sox bullpen this year. He's somebody who I've really liked to see his stuff. And I've enjoyed watching him come out of the Red Sox pen because he provides a sense of balance to this bullpen, and he's able to be reliable for the most part. So I think that was a great pickup for Boston. He's just been so much more productive than not. And then also on Sunday, Masataka Yoshida and Adam Duvall both smashed home runs. Yoshida with a 3-run bomb and Duvall just with a solo homer. But Adam Duvall just continues to hit. I mean, that man is on an absolute tear right now. And Yoshida is hitting 294 right now with 65 runs scored, 63 RBIs, a 349 on base percentage, and a 455 slugging. So he's actually been hitting over 300 for most of the season, but that average has dropped to under 3 starting in mid-August. So since mid-August, we've seen a little bit of a digression in his performances at the plate. I almost worry that opposing pitchers have started to figure him out in terms of what they can and can't throw to him, because he was a rookie coming into this year. And when you're throwing to a rookie, you haven't seen them before, so you don't really know what types of pitches they can hit better than others. And I think pitchers are starting to figure out Yoshida's game a little bit and what he can and can't hit. So he's just going to need to adapt to that and figure out how to keep his rhythm going and hit some of those more off-speed pitches that he hasn't shown as much that he's able to hit consistently well. So that's what I'm hoping for from him, that I'd like to see him improve over this last month or so and into next season. But overall, it was a good series for the Red Sox. I'm happy with how it went. Just got to try to keep that momentum going playing against the Rays, because they are a tough team and they will not let the Red Sox down easy. Coming up, I'm going to be talking about a kid who's been on an absolute tear and talking about why he deserves really a chance at Rookie of the Year. Are you constantly looking for new hair products? Is your hair super annoying like mine? Well, Nutrafol has you covered. You don't have to choose between better hair growth and your health. Nutrafol provides a whole body health approach for men that promotes healthier hair. No drugs, no compromises, just better hair. Men think losing their hair is inevitable. Take control of your hair's future with Nutrafol's science-backed hair growth supplement for men. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement, clinically shown to improve your hair growth, visible thickness, and visible scalp coverage. Nutrafol's hair growth supplements use physician-formulated, natural, science-backed ingredients. Their drug-free, patented technology provides consistent, reliable results without compromising your sexual health. Take the first step to visibly thicker, healthier hair. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com/men and enter the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Find out why over 4,000 healthcare professionals recommend Nutrafol for healthier hair. Nutrafol.com/men, spelled Nutrafol.com/men, and enter promo code LOCKEDONMLB. That's Nutrafol.com/men, promo code LOCKEDONMLB. There you go, men out there listening to the show. That is your way to get healthier hair if you've always wondered. So check out Nutrafol today. Triston Casas has been having just a phenomenal season for the Red Sox, really, so far. I mean, the growth we've seen him show over the last month or so has been absolutely tremendous. I mean, currently he has an OPS of 863, which is #7 in the league. Devers is 8th and Turner is 10th. So he's up there in terms of highest on base percentage plus slugging right now, which is super cool. He has a 265 batting average right now with 60 run scores, 55 RBIs, and 368 on base percentage. But on June 7th, so only a few months ago, he was batting 194 and was consistently under 2. But since then, it's really only gone up for him. We've seen him consistently be able to keep it over 2. His batting average now is so much better. He's gone from 194 to 265 as the season has progressed. In the Royals series on Friday, he went 1 for 4 with a single. Saturday, he went 2 for 4 with a massive 2-run home run, as well as a single. And Sunday, he was 1 for 4 with a double. That Rookie of the Year campaign is certainly going strong for him. One thing I have noticed about him is he rarely grounds into double plays, which just shows his ability to select the right pitches to swing at. His defense has also grown a lot since the season started. His ability to turn double plays, make the right move defensively to tag out runners or tag the base. And his throws have been more on target. His ability to lean and catch balls that might not necessarily be thrown at the best angle for him, because earlier on in the season, there were a lot of balls getting by him. But if his shortstop or second baseman or third baseman are not, throwing him the ball in the best way, it was hard for him to grab those. Rafael Devers at third base has been struggling a bit with making the easier plays. Fielding the ball, being able to throw it on target to Casas seems to be an issue for him, but Casas has learned a little bit more to adjust that to make it so that he can, catch the ball even if it's not the best throw. So I really like how much he's improved in that area. Even when he's not hitting a home run, it's a deep fly out a lot of the time, or he's hitting a single or hitting a double. I do, think he needs to just improve a little bit on his ability to run the bases and make more things happen when he's on base, trying to turn more into a hit and be able to potentially turn for 2 bases instead of 1 on a single that travels far enough or is not hit hard enough and travels really slowly. When he has the ability to advance to second base, I'd like to see him do more of that and just be more aggressive when he's on the base paths. But other than that, it's hard to argue that he shouldn't at least be a finalist for Rookie of the Year. He's come an absolutely long way. His September call-up last year was eerily similar to Freddie Freeman's initial call-up when he was still a rookie, putting together similar numbers to him. And if you look at where Freeman is at now, I'm not saying that Triston Casas is going to be Freddie Freeman, but if he can continue on the path that he's on, then you can trust, based on how big of a player he was compared to in his September call-up and into his rookie season, you can have peace of mind knowing that as long as he progresses in the right direction and doesn't really have setbacks, he's going to turn into a very, very good player moving forward for the Red Sox. I really like his patience at the plate. At the beginning of the season, he didn't have that as much, and he just lacked an ability to know when to swing and when not to swing. That's shown a lot of improvement as the season has gone on. And he's now more willing to take walks if needed. And he's just making pitchers work a lot more than he ever really has before. So I think he's really starting to find that confidence that he's been looking for at the plate. But he should no doubt be Rookie of the Year. That to me seems like an obvious choice. There are obviously some great rookies across the league, but Triston Casas deserves and should be Rookie of the Year. Coming up, I'm going to be doing a quick update on the September call-ups. The other day on Friday, rosters were finalized. The Red Sox were able to bring up a couple players, so going to be touching on that coming up next. Do you love fantasy baseball as much as me? It's so much fun. The MLB playoffs are around the corner, which means the clock is ticking on your chance to win 100 times your cash on daily fantasy baseball. Baseball has never been more exciting than it is now, with studs like Acuna, Betts, and Ohtani. Pick more or less on stats for these stars like home runs, hits, strikeouts, and more for up to a 100-time payout on Sleeper. Get your picks right and you could win big. Use promo code LOCKEDON and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Flash Sleeper logo with deposit, match code, and TNC. The thing about Sleeper that I really like is they make it so easy for you to do these daily fantasy picks, and you can win so much money doing it, because it's hard to, feel motivated to constantly be doing fantasy baseball if you don't have easy access to doing it and there's not an app that's guiding you through the process. So if you're a beginner in fantasy baseball, it's certainly, something that's there to help you. And with the season that Ronald Acuna Jr. is having right now, which already in itself is unbelievable, I definitely recommend giving it a shot. Friday, September 1st was roster expansion day. The Red Sox were able to add two players to their major league roster. Keep in mind that Pablo Reyes is eventually going to be returning from the injured list, so he will fill a roster spot for somebody. But Enmanuel Valdez was called up. He had been slashing a 274 batting average with a 389 on base percentage and recorded 9 home runs since he had been sent back down to AAA after he was called up last time. It's hard to know what the Red Sox are going to do about the infield situation when Reyes comes back. I personally was team Ceddanne Rafaela. I think it makes sense to keep him up because he can play both the infield and the outfield, so they can slot him into either of those depending on who needs a rest day that day, or somebody, were to get injured, he can slot in either place. But the Red Sox might feel like they want him to develop more at the AAA level as opposed to coming into the majors and riding the bench a lot, because he hasn't really been starting and he's been getting thrown into games to play here and there and take one or two at bats. But it doesn't appear like Cora has a plan to start him a lot. So in the Red Sox organization's mind, maybe they want to just have him continue to develop in AAA because he could be a huge weapon for this team later on once he's grown a little bit more in his career, rather than having him be up in the majors and not really be playing to continue to grow those skills. So with Enmanuel Valdez being called up, that to me says that once Reyes comes back, they'll probably send Rafaela back down to AAA. Obviously, I don't know for sure that that's going to happen, but I do feel like, Chaim Bloom is very much invested in these prospects that can provide a lot of value later on for the team. And in order for him to, really feel confident in the future and the roster he has, he wants these kids to be set up for success in the best way they possibly can be. So this sends a message to me that when Reyes comes back, Valdez will stay up and Rafaela will go back down to AAA. In this series, he had a massive 2-run single with the bases loaded on Saturday, off a lefty to give the Red Sox a 6-1 lead. This is Valdez. And then on Friday, he went 0 for 1, and Sunday he went 1 for 3. I like him because he's versatile and definitely has potential. It's still so soon to tell. We haven't seen really a lot from him yet, but he can mash the ball. He can run the bases well. Seems to be aware of smart base running, when to take off and when not to take off. And that's something that's been a big issue for the Red Sox this season, is their judgment calls on the bases. They've lost some games due to incompetencies along the base paths, and being able to know when they should go, when they shouldn't go. So he seems to have an early understanding of that. Now, not to say things aren't going to change for him as he continues to develop, but I do like Valdez because he seems to have the ability to understand the fundamentals of the sport. And we all know that it seems like the Red Sox sometimes lack those fundamentals. So that's a breath of fresh air. And then the other player the Red Sox called up is Brandon Walter. I also see this as temporary. I think Chris Murphy ultimately is going to get the pitching spot on the expanded roster. He just needs to stay for a few more days in AAA, since he was sent back down. But I do think they'll call him back up once his deadline is up and when he doesn't have to be down in AAA anymore. Brandon Walter was throwing well in AAA, 142 earned run average across 5 starts since being called back down. He got absolutely rocked on Friday night against the Royals. Not that everybody didn't, because this whole team just looked utterly bad, to put it nicely. On Friday night, he pitched 4 innings, gave up 10 hits, 7 earned runs, and recorded 5 strikeouts while giving up 2 home runs. With Walter, I think he can eventually turn into something, but he still has so much more work to do. And in my mind, it seems like Murphy is a little bit further along. Yes, he's had some blunders this season, but that to me is growing pains. I like a lot of what I have seen from him, and he's shown the ability to really step up in the big moments. And I have yet to see a lot of that from Walter. So I do think eventually Murphy is going to get that last roster spot and Walter will go back down to AAA. And I think he could use it because I think he needs to work more on his stuff and be able to really find his game before he can come back and contribute. So the Red Sox are going to have to make a decision on that, as well as the Reyes situation when he comes back, who's going to be going back down. But that's all in Chaim Bloom, and we'll see what he decides to do. Don't forget, SiriusXM has you covered for the home broadcast for all Red Sox games. Just download the SiriusXM app and search Red Sox, and the home broadcast will be there straight to your phone, so you don't have to miss a single pitch of Red Sox baseball in the home stretch here, the final month of the regular season. So definitely don't miss it. As always, keep the faith, go Red Sox, and I will catch you on the flip side.